What story interests you more than anything else right now that appears to be at the top of a headline stack? Is it what's going on in the NFL, NBA, Rodgers, Tebow, tonight's Lakers, Knicks? I'll give you the omnibus choice. What interests you? What's the top of your mind?
I understand that we've been beating this thing into the ground, but there's nothing more interesting than what's going on with Aaron Rodgers right now.
Right.
There's just no way around it where I think I am one of the few people who is willing to come out in public and say, I understand why they drafted Jordan Love. Like, I don't even think that was necessarily a terrible decision. It was only a terrible decision if you did not realize that as soon as you drafted him, that meant that he would be the starter in 2021. Didn't matter what Aaron Rodgers did in 2020, you were going to have to make that move if you decided to take a quarterback. And they apparently did not understand that this is what it was. And it's like, we know somehow we've never met Aaron Rodgers, but we know him better than they do. And they seem to be really surprised that this is going right now when it was so eminently predictable. And now I have no idea what in the world they're going to do. And I still don't know what Jordan Love looks like. No idea.
You could walk down the street and not be able to say, oh, that's Jordan Love, right? You have no idea.
Let me tell you, a whole lot of people going to walk across Jordan Love in a similar circumstance and be like, really, you went to Utah State? Like I just think that in all of it, and by the way, they don't seem to know anything about him either because he came in the worst offseason ever to be a rookie, and, there's no camp. He didn't dress for any of the games last year. They literally have no idea whether their first-round pick from last year can do anything as of this moment right now. And that's an absurd thing to say as a pro franchise.
It is, because if you think about it, Bomani, at some point, because we're focusing on the not focusing, but we're talking about my colleague at NFL Media Group, Bucky Brooks, certainly threw it out there as a possibility for the Ravens being the first to do it, because at the time, Lamar Jackson didn't have his fifth-year option picked up, that at some point somebody is going to go in the direction of drafting somebody in the first round, and instead of giving them a fifth-year option contract and picking that up and then trying to figure out what the next iteration of a contract looks like, they'll just be like college. They'll just let that player graduate, and they'll start the clock again with a new rookie quarterback and try and win that way again. And instead, we're seeing the Packers say, okay, instead of choosing someone in the first round and then throwing all of our resources in to make sure we win in that first iteration of a contract before we get cap hamstrung with him, we'll just let him sit. It just makes no sense. None of it makes sense on that front at all, Bomani.
Yeah, I thought that if somebody were going to do kind of that graduation thing, that it would be Jared Goff. And then the Rams gave him a boatload of cash. Like right after, I was like, this guy probably isn't really that good. You could probably get another one of those. They were like, oh, no, we got to give him the money right now. And then 2 years later, we're like, anybody want a quarterback? We've got a quarterback that you guys can have if you would like to have one. And then they shipped him out. But with what they're doing with Rodgers, one, this is probably a rude awakening for a lot of those young guys on the team where they look up and they realize if they'll do it to Aaron Rodgers, they'll do it to you. Like, everybody thinks they're different until they realize they're not. And this is the clearest demonstration that you probably will not wind up being different in the grand scheme of it. But I also think the Packers learned something, that it's hard to build for tomorrow and today at the same time. Like, this is the question I had about San Francisco when they made the trade to get a quarterback this year. That's a win-later move, and you tell me that you have a win-now team. And so the Packers had a win-now team, and they made a win-later move. And now, good luck with later.
Yeah, because the later and the now are absolutely on different tracks of team building. Certainly when you've got a quarterback like Rodgers, who you can't even say was showing diminishing returns. I mean, they made an NFC championship game and won 13 games with a new coach who supposedly was going to be so young and so difficult for him to, if you will, Rodgers, change his spots in a way to attach himself at the hip of this guy. And he did exactly that. And then you drafted the quarterback by moving up to take him. Again, the fact that we're still talking about this a year later because that's the now is kind of stunning to me. It really, really is. It's tough to handle.
Yeah, but see, I thought when they drafted him, if for some reason they had been in the top 10, they would have really, I thought, had a bit of a trick bag of decision, because Rodgers, I did think, in 18 and 19 did not look like the quarterback that we had seen before. And so much of his game is predicated on athleticism. So if you thought that he was declining as an athlete, then maybe you start looking at the future. But every single quarterback who has been taken in the first round since the rookie wage scale came about, the only exception is Paxton Lynch, they all were the starters by year 2. Like, the schedule had been laid out on this, and these were the only people that thought, nah, we'll just keep going until Aaron can't play anymore. Like, Aaron was just going to be like, I'm just going to keep going until they tell me I'm sorry. Yeah, because that's the Aaron Rodgers that we've seen. He's definitely giving you the vibe that that's how he gets down. No, he hasn't.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.